this episode of Extraordinary Women TV, the show wouldn't be complete without my Good to Know Minute, where you will learn the top success tips and tools from today's most extraordinary women. I'm speaking with Devorah Miller. She is the owner of Red Thread Designs. So what inspired you, Devorah, to start really a children's clothing line?
I have had a passion for fabric for my whole life. Ever since childhood, I've been making things out of cloth. My mother was a textile designer, so I was very widely exposed to fabric when I was a child. And for my whole life, I've been quilting, I've been making things out of fabric. And then when I started having daughters, it just became clear to me that I should make things for them. And one of the things about making clothing for children that really inspired me, as opposed to, for example, making a women's clothing line, is that there's this incredible freedom. So I can play with color to an extreme degree that you could not with women. I don't have to think about fashion trends. I can just be taken by a fabric and play with it in different ways and think about the joy that that fabric exudes and then just turn that into a garment. So I just have this amazing playful kind of freedom, and I get to see kids reacting to my clothing and loving it and not being concerned about whether they fit into a fashion trend, but just enjoying it because it's beautiful. And so that's one of the reasons why I love most designing for children. My education, I started as a modern dancer in my early 20s, and I left that to go to university. I sort of pulled between the arts and academics. I really enjoyed both. I ended up going to university and majoring in Japanese and studying fine art, mostly East Asian art. And I continued well into grad school and really enjoyed that a lot. And at the same time, I was putting myself through school, raising money for nonprofit organizations, mostly cultural nonprofit organizations. And I ended up doing training in fundraising and marketing, and then spent the next 10 years in that field, working at the ROM, working for architects. It's really a long story. But while I was working for a wonderful architectural firm as a writer, I started making these dresses. It was on my second maternity leave that I started making them. And I gradually decreased my hours over the years until I was doing this full time. And it's coming up to my 10-year anniversary now of starting this business. So it's been a pretty circuitous route. I didn't go to fashion design school. I didn't plan to make clothing. But I ended up in this wonderful place that I really love. And I feel like I was meant to be an entrepreneur. This is the perfect place for me.
So what, as an entrepreneur, what has been sort of the most difficult obstacle for you, as a business owner?
Yeah, being an entrepreneur is a bit like living on a roller coaster sometimes. So I feel like in order to stomach the ups and downs, you just have to have a very high tolerance for uncertainty. I also mentor sort of budding business women. That's something that I've been doing for a couple of years, and I really enjoy that as well. I just believe in just creating the most supportive environment around you, and I've been the beneficiary of that supportive environment too, ever since the beginning. I learned how to do this from other people, basically, sharing all of their knowledge with me. So that's where I get the support.
So you have a mentor yourself?
I don't currently have a business mentor, but when I started my business, many mentors came out of the woodwork and explained to me how to do things, gave me contacts, told me where to buy fabric. Pretty much anything I needed to learn how to do, I had somebody to ask. And that was mostly from the network of artists and designers that I was very quickly exposed to at the beginning. So, yeah.
Now, there's one particular dress in your line of children's clothing that's quite popular. It's the caterpillar dress. So tell us a bit about it.
Well, one of the things that I feel very strongly about, in addition to making my clothing locally here in Toronto and ethically, and is making it last as long as possible. Because one of the problems with children's clothing is that children grow, which is a good thing. But it also means that it can be more difficult to make your children's clothing really last. And so I try to design things that can be worn in different seasons, that can be worn in different ways, dresses that can transition to tops, And this one dress in particular, called the caterpillar dress, has been my bestseller for years. It's one size. It has little buttons to close as a closure on the shoulders. And it's a dress on a 1-year-old, it's a shorter dress on a 2-year-old, and then it continues to be a cute top on a 3 or 4-year-old. And so it's just a way of taking beautiful fabric and a simple shape and making it last for a long time. And if you layer it, as many people do, and wear it throughout the year, it can literally be worn continuously for years. So it's, in a way, the antithesis of most children's clothing, which has a very narrow window of opportunity to be enjoyed. So that's it. That's the dress.
So tell us the story behind your name.
Red thread. So the proverb goes something like this. An invisible red thread connects us to everybody that we are destined to meet. And the thread can tangle, but it can never break. And so it's just this feeling of being connected to people far away that we love. But I just like the feeling in general of human interconnection. And it just really appealed to me. And in addition to the fact that I love red and I'm using a lot of thread. I don't know, it just seemed like it had a nice sound to it, and I really liked this meaning of human interconnectedness. Just appealed to me.
And now, the Good to Know Minute. What would you say is your key to success?
I would say that even though I believe it's very important to stay focused on your goals, it's also very important not to have tunnel vision. That would be my number one tip. I feel like if you're focused too strongly on your goals, you can miss other opportunities and interactions with other people around you that might lead to wonderful things. So I feel like keeping a very open mind as well. If one goes to a show like this and sales aren't great, you might meet somebody in your booth. You might be interviewed for a TV show. You might meet somebody who ends up buying things for their store. You might end up meeting people that you might work with in the future. So just keeping a very open mind and being just interested in people that you meet. And there's so many opportunities around you as well. So I think it's good to be really focused, but also open.
Focused and open, and that's good to know. Well, thank you so much, Devorah, for your time today, and I wish you all the best.
Okay, thanks so much for having me.
If you would like to be a guest on Extraordinary Women TV, visit our website at extraordinarywomentv.com. I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter at Shannon_Skinner or on Facebook at Extraordinary Women TV. I'm Shannon Skinner. Join us next time for another episode of Extraordinary Women TV.